Okay, the long-awaited trig graph video, which I already shot once and the audio failed, so I have to shoot all over again. Yay for me. Okay, so what I decided to do is the problems in the homework. All right, these are not the problems from the class on the sheet. So the first part is very straightforward. Finding the amplitude, the period, the phase shift is a piece of cake. I mean, you have formulas, you just read the numbers off. I mean, this is part B. Maybe I should put that B there. I don't want you to get confused because the letters A, B, and C are here. This is A, this is B, this is C. So now the amplitude, use big A, is the absolute value of the number in the front. That's easy. This is what stretches the graph. Like this is important for when you're going to draw it. Normally, the sine and cosine graphs, oops, I didn't finish this graph here. They're trapped between 1 and -1. So what the amplitude does is it just stretches that. So instead of with this being a 3, instead of being a 1, this would be a 3. This would be a -3. That's all it does. It only stretches vertically, right, up and down on the y-axis. So that's the amplitude. The period is also very easy. It's 2 pi divided by b. But in our case, b is 6. So be careful here. It is the number in front of the x. So you can reduce this to pi over 3. Now, you can leave it like that. You want to write it in degrees and write 60 degrees. This is fine. You're welcome to leave the period and the phase shift in terms of pi. In fact, I leave it like this. I won't write 60 degrees. I'll write pi over 3. I know it's 60. I don't have to write 60 degrees. I don't know what else to call phase shift. I mean, write some weird crap here. So the phase shift is -c over b. This is c. So you take the negative of that. I'm going to write it all out because this can be very tricky. My minus strung together. Come on. So it's the negative of this divided by b. Now, a lot of people make mistakes here. You got fraction, so weird crap happens. So I'm going to be very careful with it. This minus and this minus make a plus. You are dividing by 6, right? That's what the line is. It's pi over 2 divided by 6. So this is where you keep, change, flip. So that stays the same. This switches to times. You flip that over. So the phase shift on this problem is going to be pi, right? Pi times 1, 2 times 6 on the bottom. So it's pi over 12. Yeah, it's like 15 degrees or something, whatever. Pi over 12 is fine. Leave it like this. No, I don't need, you're not ever going to graph a phase shift. You would not be able to graph a phase shift successfully. If you tried to take this graph and move it 15 degrees to the left, there's a chance that you would draw that right. Trying to label the x-axis would be a disaster. You'd never be able to. It's impossible to move this 15 degrees that way. So you'll never have to graph this. It's just you only just have to tell me what the values are. And I kind of boxed myself into a little corner here, so I'm going to be a little more succinct about it. Again, A, B, C. Why not put them there to help you? Unfortunately, I chose the same number here. I probably should have had this be 8, but whatever. It's too late. Absolute value of 7 is 7. So if you were graphing this, you'd put a 7 here and a -7 there. Or if you were graphing cosine, 7, -7, same thing. The period, right? The big P, we had the big D and the big P. The big P sounds all kinds of wrong. 2 pi over B. Now, I really should have put an 8 here. I know why I put a 6. I did it for the phase shift, but I probably should have had an 8 there. So then this would have been, if this was an 8, it would be pi over 4. But unfortunately, I got the exact same thing as the previous one, pi over 3. So, I mean, I don't want to change it now because I'm doing the same ones on the sheet. And I don't want to switch it. The phase shift, you're going to take -c over b. So again, I really should have had this be an 8. And then that just would have been negative pi over 2. But for whatever reason, I didn't. You do need to reduce it, though. 4 and 6 are even, just cut them in half and get the phase shift. So I think I actually have already gone to that sheet and made this an 8. It really should have been an 8. And then these questions would have been a little bit better. This would have been a 4. This would have been a 2. I mean, it is what it is. It's all good. Whatever. So very easy. This is 3 points, right? I'll ask you this on the test. I'll say, tell me the amplitude, the period, the phase shift. So 1, 2, 3, 3 points, 1 point each. All right. It's very easy. The graphing is a tricky part. So I'm going to graph them all reluctantly. All right. The first graphing one, which the vast majority of you just skip the video to this point because this is the only part that you have trouble with. So you're going to tell me the amplitude and the period. Those are the only 2 things you need to make the picture accurately. There is no phase shift, right? You have A. There's an invisible 1 there, right? That's your A. That's your B. There is no C. C is 0, so there's no phase shift. So the amplitude, fortunately, is just 1. It's the number in front. I don't want to write it there. It just looks stupid. The period is 2 pi. 2 pi. My pi looking funky. Over B. Now, in this case, what I just, it's going to seem like I'm contradicting what I just said to you before about leaving it as pi. I wasn't making the graph before for question 1. Question 1 was tell me the amplitude, period, phase shift. State them. No picture. But here I'm about to draw a picture. And you need numbers on the x-axis to make the picture accurately. So I do want to know what my period is. Now, I know that pi, 180 divided by 3 is 60, times 2 is 120. Now, what the hell does this mean? What does it represent? It's important. You have to understand how these things are connected to each other. The period is how long it takes you to get this wave, right? I have the cosine graph, so I know it's going to be that shape. That is one wave. Remember, cosine goes forever in both directions. Forever and ever and ever. That's what the cosine graph is. It's a wave, and it never stops. So, but it's this piece that gets repeated forever in each direction. So that's one wave. That's one full cycle. So this number is how long it takes to graph starting at 0, right? You always start here. Okay, right? This is 0. You always start at the middle, right? Where the x and y axis meet, the origin. So you start there and you make a wave. It's only going to take me 120 to make one full cycle. So if I'm drawing from 0 to 360, I have 120, 240, 360. So this is exactly what I'm going to do first. I'm going to make my x-axis. I know that I only need 3. You see this number? This is what I said in class. I'll say it on every single one that I draw. Whatever that number in front of x is how many of this shape you make from 0 to 360. If that number is a 3, then you draw 3. So every 120. I'm not going to put 90, 180, 270. I don't need that. I'm going to put the numbers I need to make the cycles. 120, 240, 360. That's why you get 3. You're going to have 1, 2, and 3. And I'm going to draw them very carefully. Now, I want to point out, I will not label the y-axis until I've made my picture, because then I'll just go back and cheat. You'll see I'll do this in all of them. So I'm not going to do that till the end. This one's dumb because it's 1, but so I'm going to make that wave right there, right? Like half, and then the whole thing, put a big ass dot. I put a big dot to differentiate between where one ends and another cycle is going to begin. So that's the first one. Now I got to draw it again. Boom. Just make sure you hit the right spot. That's why I put 120, 240, and 360. Right? I just took 120 and did it until I got to, right? Just kept adding 120 until you hit 360. So there's 1, there's 2, there's the third one, right? 1, 2, 3. I mean, if it helps you visually to have like a line there, don't do this. I mean, this is ridiculous, but there's the first one, there's the second one, there's the third one. Don't you dare do that, it's going to ruin your picture. So stupid. But that's it. And now at the end, go back and put the 1 and the -1. You know, if this had been a 3, I'd put a 3 here and a -3 there. I don't do it till I'm finished. I will do the x-axis and then draw the number of waves that I need. And then I'll put the amplitude at the very end. Because if it's a different number, I'll try to make it look all nice. Let's see. I'll do it with the other ones, right? So this is the first one. That's how many I draw. You still have to state these. This will always go here. You'll see on all the other ones, it's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm always going to put the period on the x-axis because this is how you draw them. All right, so that's the first one. All right, here's the second one, which is B. Same as before, you're going to do the amplitude. Now this one's negative. Absolute value of -4 is +4. So that's going to stretch the y-axis to 4 and -4. I will not draw this until the end. And again, you don't do anything stupid with this. I have seen students in the past see this -4, and then they put -4 here and 4 here. This doesn't make any fucking sense. The y-axis doesn't flip all of a sudden, negative numbers go up. No, it's always positive numbers up, negative numbers down. So what that negative flips is the graph. Okay, so I'm going to be drawing the sine graph upside down, but I'm prepared. I have my picture. So the period is 2 pi, right? Remember, this is A, this is B. Amplitude is the A, absolute value of it. Period is 2 pi over B, right? So you cross out the 2's and you get pi, which is 180. So that means that it takes my graph 180 degrees to make a full wave. Normally, it takes a full 360 degrees to make the wave, to make one cycle, one full cycle. Here, it's only going to take me half that, which means this is how many I'm going to draw. 2. The number in front of that friggin' X is how many you draw. Last example, it was a 3. I drew 3 waves. Now it's a 2. I'm going to draw 2 waves. So in this case, I'm going to put the 180. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I am going to put 180 and I'm going to put 360. I mean, I know this is 90 and I know this is 270. I'm doing it there for my reference. So basically, I would have half the graph here and the other half here. That's one full, and then half and half, and that's full. So I have to make sure I draw one full sine. Normally, right? Sine looks like this. I got to draw that. However, this negative, right? The upper hump goes down. The lower hump goes up. So I'm going to draw this twice. I'm going to draw one full one. That's why I'm going to say hump here, hump there. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but whatever. Put a big ass dot to differentiate where one ends and the next one starts. Then again, lower hump, upper hump, big ass dot. I made that hump too big. Make the hump smaller. I mean, I need it to try to be like the same height roughly. Now, if you want to put the 90 there, awesome. If you want to put 270 there, awesome. As long as I see 180 and 360, I know you understood that you got 2, right? There's your first wave. There's your second one, right? Upside down. And the paper even messed that up. So now look, I needed 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, -4. Now, put them at the end. Don't put it there in the beginning, because then you're going to be like struggling to try to make it whatever. I don't care. As long as I see the 4 and the -4. If your hump goes a little too far down or a little too far up, like mine did, who gives a shit? You're not a machine. No one's perfect. You're not going to draw the damn thing perfect. I am looking for correct shape. Did you draw the fucking sine curve or the cosine curve? You drew the right curve. Is it upside down like it's supposed to be? And did you draw the correct number of cycles, the correct number of waves? If you drew me 3 or 4 when it was supposed to be 2, then you screwed up. All right, I'm not super picky with these, but obviously you have to have the right shape in the right direction and the right number of waves. That's the most important thing when you graph these. So that's why I'm very careful with drawing the right number and labeling the x-axis. All right, so I'm going to do the last 2. This was the one graph that everybody drew correctly. It was like the only one that everybody drew correctly. It was pretty funny. I mean, not that funny. I shouldn't have did that yet. Oh well. Amplitude, absolute value -3 is 3. I gotta do it again. I don't want that there. I want it down there. Amplitude is absolute value -3, which is 3. Right? There's your A. Now the B, again, it's 1, right? The number in front of X is 1. So your period is 2 pi over 1. Hello? 2 pi. This is awesome. That means it takes the graph 360 degrees to go one full cycle, but that's what it normally takes. So you draw however many is in front of the x, but there's no number there. There's a 1 there. I even put it in red, which doesn't look good on whatever. Maybe it'll look better later. So there's a 1 in front of the x. So that's how many waves you draw. 1. But unfortunately, it's upside down. I don't want to draw it upside down. So this weird ass uterus looking thing just goes like that. The little hump goes up in the middle, and then these little tails go down. So I don't know, a hill, whatever. I just have to draw that, literally. It's one cycle. So this part goes down. That's 90, 180, 270, 360. Put a big ass dot to show where you start and stop. All right, so that was 90. This was 180. This was 270. This was 360. Yeah, it's spaced them apart perfectly. Now, 3. 1, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3. Put it at the end. It's easier. Trust me. Don't do it in the beginning because then you're going to try to struggle to make it match. I always cheat. I always put the amplitude dead last. I make sure my waves are correct. My shape is right. Is it flipped? Is it not flipped? Only one wave upside down. So it's basically that exact damn thing just flipped. All right. Now the last one's a pain in the ass because it's 4. And I didn't want to do it, but I promised I would do them all. So I will do them all. Finally, the last one. And unfortunately, it is a pain in the ass. I'm going to need a lot of room to draw this one. Again, the amplitude, piece of cake. Absolute value of 2 is 2. Period. Remember, there's your A, there's your B. Period is 2 pi over B. Reduce that, right? 2 goes into 4 twice, you get pi over 2, which is 90 degrees. Now, why am I doing that? Because I know I'm going to graph it. So again, what does the period represent? How long it takes you to make one full cycle. That's what it means. How long? So it only takes you 90. That means from 360, right? 90, 180, 270, you're going to get 4 of them. How do I know it's 4? Where do I see a 4? There's no 4 anywhere. The number in front of the x is how many waves you draw. If it's a 2, you draw 2. If it's a 3, you draw 3. If it's a 4, unfortunately, you draw 4. So you're going to draw 4 of those dudes. Let's see, get it right. You're going to have 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4. 4 of these, that shape. So it's going to be a lot to draw. It's a pain in the ass. So I'm going to have to make this, I'm going to really stretch out the x-axis here. Because I know this graph looks ridiculous. All right, so there's 90, 180. That's not far enough. I should have did this with my marker. Let's see. Ooh, wow, look at that. Look at how perfect that is. That was blind luck. Going one more. There we go. I know I got to make 4, so I got to make room for it. All right, so I'm going to label them 90, 180, 270, 360. Every 90 degrees, I get that whole thing. So I'm just going to make that whole thing and make sure it fits. I'm going to go halfway and then the whole thing. Put a big ass dot. You want that dot for you and for me grading it. You want that dot so you know that wave is done. I'm about to start a new one. So you put that big ass dot, and I'm going to make another one. And again, I'm going to go half and then half. Thank God this graph's not upside down. Boom. There's wave 2, right? The hump, the hump. Same picture. Again, half, half. Boom. There's my third one, right? 1, 2, 3, and one more. Hump, hump. This sounds ridiculous. Hump, hump. Draw humps. That's it. 1, right? The dots tell you where. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3. That's the first wave. It ended right there. That's the second wave. That's the third. And that's the fourth, right? They end where the dots are. That's why I put those big dots there. I don't just draw one big continuous thing because it gets confusing. And then I told you what to do. Whatever you see here, 1, 2, boom. -1, -2, boom. But that last, it's easier. That graph's a pain. I mean, that it's a pain in the ass. I'm gonna move out the way and sit down. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'm so close to the camera. So, amplitude at the very end. 1 wave, 2 waves, 3 waves, 4 waves. And you know, this isn't a huge amount of points. I don't want you to go crazy with this. I know some people, it's annoying. Some people struggle with it. As long as you have the right shape. If I'm asking you for sine and you draw cosine, you know, or if you have to draw 3 waves and you know you draw like 8 of them, or you draw 1, you know, you're gonna lose points. But I'm not gonna destroy you on this. I think the whole thing is worth, like, let's see, 1 point, 1 point, and then the graph, right? The correct shape in the right direction and the correct number of waves. So I think 4 points maximum on this. So as long as you draw the right number of waves in the right shape, you're not going to get the amplitude in the period wrong. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is mindless nonsense. All right, so it's not that bad. Hopefully, again, this is helpful. And hopefully the audio went through this time. I've been looking. I see the green thing, so I know. You have no idea how horrible it was to make, you know, a video that long. It takes this video might only be 20 minutes long, but it took me 45 minutes to make with all the pausing and erasing and drawing, and you know, the graphs didn't draw themselves. So hopefully it's helpful. And there we go.